Hey, welcome back to this video. So now, this is like my first impressions of the Galaxy S26 Ultra and how I feel about it. Now, basically, like I said, I'm getting the phone kind of up and going. Getting my pages set up, my apps, what have you. And, I'm just going to give you my first impressions of the first few things I noticed in comparison from last year's S25 Ultra and this year's S26 Ultra and how it compares to phones like the Fold 7 and even the Pixel 10 Pro XL. First off, let's start about talking about the rounded edges on the S26 Ultra, which is a much, wanted feature or design that a lot of people pretty much complained about from last year's phone, that it was too pointy in the corners. I never really have any problems with it. Also, the lifted camera bezel is a much needed change that a lot of people thought would add and make a different look, a different design aesthetic to the phone. The way the camera had lifted off each individual lenses off the flat back of the S25 Ultra was a little bit, in a lot of people's opinion, not so much of a good design feature of the phone. But to me, really, it doesn't make a difference. I do like it though, but at the same time, where I've noticed is that this camera design does not work well with all any type of magnetic charging, especially if you have a case on this. So I kind of wish that this camera uh, hump or lift right here was either up a little further or somehow minimized. But the one thing I can say about this 26 Ultra and even the 25 to a certain extent, that they all weren't MagSafe friendly. Like I said, one of the things I like is the more rounded corners. And one thing to take note of is that the S Pen is a little bit more rounded and blends in with the corner. Again, with the switch of the button setup in comparison to what we got with the Pixel phone. A complete switch of where the power button is and the volume rocker. So if you've been using a phone that had this type of setup on the Pixel and now you're going to a Galaxy phone, it will take some time getting used to. From a software standpoint, there's not too much that stands out, especially with the Fold 7, which has the latest and greatest on it. Really, the biggest star of the show when it comes from a software standpoint is the ability to turn off some of the pixels on your display, giving you a privacy screen effect when you're looking at from a side-to-side point of view. I kind of think that's something that can be emulated with the S25 Ultra when it comes to a software update. This is not so much of something that I think will require you to have a brand new type of display. There's no note of any new display technology in here. So in a lot of ways, I don't see how this cannot be implemented with the S25 Ultra. Now, in comparison with this Pixel, if this phone is much lighter, the Pixel, believe it or not, feels way more premium right now, the way it feels. But off the top, just getting into the phone, there are some nice updates software-wise. The camera is supposed to be updated, so that's something we'll have to find out a little later if this camera lives up to the hype. There's a lot of talk about this. Samsung's finally up to iPhone's level. One thing I do know people is upset about is that silicone battery technology. I have an opinion about that. We discussed it in our last live stream. I'm pretty much quoting Eric Kelly, aka the Tech Gentleman. He pretty much came up with the theory that silicone technology is basically new technology. I really think that he really thinks that a lot of these companies are kind of waiting out to see how the longevity of silicone batteries lasts. Because if you think about it, a lot of these companies are promising 7 years of updates on these phones. And you don't want the battery to not be able to stay at a high level during those 7 years of updates. So I think there's a real wait and see happening here when it comes to the silicone battery tech, trying to see that if these batteries have real longevity. Because out the gate, a lot of people were saying these batteries may last 4 to 5 years before you start seeing significant drops in uh, what type of charge these phones will be able to hold later. So you don't want to have a phone that's only can charge you up to 50%, but you're only in the fifth year of software updates. If a company is going to promise you 7 years, then you want the battery technology to match that update time period. So I can understand that, and I really do think that might be what they're waiting for is some more significant improvements in the silicone battery technology. But overall, like I said, this phone coming out the gate, Samsung never really misses with a lot of their phones. The fingerprint sensor is very quick and on point. The new privacy screen is clutch, especially when you are allowed to set this up on an app by app basis. You don't necessarily have to have this running 24/7 throughout your day. So keep that in mind with that. I do see a lot of companies maybe adopting this, especially Apple. I think Apple may try to do something like this in another couple of years after the hype has died down from Samsung's phone. And you know how Apple like to reclaim somebody else's tech as their very own. But I can really see this coming later on, let's say like an iPhone 19 or the iPhone 20. Again, this is like my first 24 to 48 hours with this phone. I look forward to giving you some more information once I get really settled in, all my apps turned on, uh, everything paired up with my vehicle, and letting you know how this phone is pretty much going through my everyday life. But again, thanks for watching this video. I appreciate you guys. If you like this video, thumbs up, subscribe. Also, check out my live stream I got going on Saturdays, me and BG Tech Life, the Rob and BG show. Appreciate you guys again, and I'm out.